we are so happy to have you with us today. We have Mel Mason, Declutter Expert, with us today. So if you're tuning in from Facebook or from YouTube, make sure to say hi. Hi, Mel. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So we have Mel here with us. She is our featured member on my Max Efficient Facebook group, a Facebook group for entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs. And today I'm so happy to get to introduce you to all the rest of the world if you don't already know her. Thank you for joining us. So I wanted to say, where are you joining us from, Mel? Where are you right now?
I am in sunny Palm Desert, California.
Oh my God, I know. I'm so jealous. I'm all the way here staring at the snow as I'm talking to you. And so let's hear a little bit about you, Mel. I would love to share your story as to how you became declutter expert because I mean, I know personally, I read a little bit about you and I got the pleasure to have an initial talk with you. And I think that your story and like what you've been through and how you came about to become the clutter expert is so inspiring. So I can't wait for you to share your story with us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Miranda. Thanks so much for hosting this and just doing all the work that you do in the world and just really getting entrepreneurs noticed. And I love what you're doing. So first of all, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. Yeah, for those of you that don't know me, I am Mel Mason, the clutter expert. And I'm known as such because I was once a cluttered, messy kid. And it was not just a little bit of clutter. My entire floor was covered, and it wasn't just stuff. It was trash as well. And I was totally fine living in that environment. I didn't see anything they didn't see that anything needed to change. My mother would come in and she would clean my room, and when in no time it would be all cluttered up again. But not only was I completely cluttered on the outside, but I was littered with clutter on the inside too, because I had experienced a lot of trauma and loss growing up, like a lot of us have. I went through sexual abuse. I went through emotional abuse. My parents got divorced when I was 4. And pretty much the nail in my coffin happened when I was about 15 years old. I lost my older brother to suicide. I was the one who actually discovered his body. And in the whole same moment of doing that, his suicide note left all of his belongings to me. So a 15-year-old who was already cluttered myself and a mess, completely disorganized, had to then figure out what to do with my brother's stuff and go through his entire apartment, figuring out what I was going to keep and what somebody else could have and all of that fun stuff. So as you can imagine, being 15 years old, that was pretty traumatic. And I just spiraled into a downward, pretty much into a black hole. And I was actually kicked out of my high school for being a danger to myself and others. They told me, you can't come back until you get intensive therapy. And what that really looked like was I had to go live in a residential treatment center for adolescents for the next year and a half of my life. But while I was living there, I was introduced to yoga and mindfulness. And really what yoga and mindfulness taught me was how to come home and be present in my body for what I call the inner clutter. Because going through trauma and loss and all that stuff when you're a kid, and even when we're adults, we don't necessarily have the coping mechanisms to deal with it. We wind up with repressed emotions that we can't handle. We wind up with resentments. We wind up with fears. And then we accumulate all these limiting beliefs because we have parents that don't have an instruction manual. So we get all their limiting beliefs that we wind up getting accumulated. And as a result of learning how to be present for all of that, something totally magical happened in my life. Now, remember, I was fine living in my cluttered mess. Like there was nothing, it was fine for me. I wasn't thinking, oh, I really need to do something about my clutter. I should really get organized. But what started to happen is I learned how to be present and bring my presence to my life and be present for all of that inner clutter. What started to happen was that I spontaneously had to start looking at the clutter that had accumulated in my life. So little by little, I started to clean my environment. And this was something that was happening spontaneously where I didn't have to force myself to do it. I didn't have to drag myself to do it. I needed to do it because I was making space on the inside and the outside is just a mirror of the inside. So as I made space inside, the outside started to match. And the truth of the matter is that because the outside is a mirror of the inside, if you don't make the space inside of yourself first, the clutter will always come back. That's why you can clean out your closet, you can clear off a surface, and in no time, the clutter comes right back. So you can fix the outside and put a Band-Aid on it, but if you don't address the inner clutter, then the outside just comes right back. And at that point, I was doing my work, and I knew that my journey would somehow serve others at some point, but I didn't know what it was going to look like. And it kind of took a windy path like all of us do. And I thought I was going to be a yoga teacher, thought I was going to be an energy healer, thought I was going to be a martial arts instructor. And I did all these different things until I got to a point in my life where I had 6 months to figure out what I wanted to do. And this was back in 2013, where I got a 6-month period to kind of just figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And at that point, I knew I loved creating order out of chaos. And with my background in energy healing, I could hold really big, safe space for people. And at the time, I watched the show Hoarders for the very first time in my life. I had heard about it, but I saw it for the first time. And I was absolutely horrified watching the show, because that show comes in and rips everything away from a person that they've accumulated their entire life in a 4-day period. Now, what people don't realize is that all of that stuff that they've accumulated around them is like their Great Wall of China. Like, that's their protection. That's their defense mechanism. And you come and you rip it away. And so you basically expose them and re-traumatize them and cause more harm than good. So when I saw that show, I was like, oh my God, I need to create a company that helps people get to the root of the clutter so that it doesn't get this way in the first place, but also so people can experience their birthright of being happy and abundant in every area of their lives, because we all come in with that same birthright, that same divine flow of abundance we all have access to. And clutter is anything that gets in the way of you being able to experience that. So that's when I launched my business in 2013. And coming in January, I'll be celebrating 8 years.
That's awesome. I love your story, because it's so organic how everything happened. And I think that a lot of people, and that's why I was so excited to have you on board of the group, being part of the group, because a lot of entrepreneurs go through that in the beginning, like trying to figure out what it is that I want to do. I have a lot of skill set, I have a lot of talent, but what do I do with that? How do I help people with that? And just to see how organic and how it all came together, it makes so much sense. So I hope that this inspired other people to do that. And I so relate to when you say you accumulate the clutter, you accumulate, and there's a reason why you accumulated it. Like, there has either a sentimental value, or like, like, for example, I have 3 kids. It's like every little thing is like, oh yeah, that was when this person was 2. And I could just imagine having the show Hoarder come to my house and ripping all of that, like breaking the mama's heart inside of me. I would be heartbroken. And also, so sorry for your loss, like for your brother. And that is close to home, not in the same way, but I feel like my dad really left me unexpectedly. I think we talked about that recently. And there are a lot of things left of him that I'm not ready yet to kind of let it go, right? So I don't even know if there's such thing of letting it go, but I think doing that exercise of like kind of like being ready from the inside before I do anything to reflect the outside would definitely be something that I'm going to try to do. Which brings me to say that it's so nice that we get to get a copy of the book that she wrote, which is Freedom from Clutter, guys.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing journey. She accomplished this book within a very good time frame too, right, Mel?
7 weeks.
7 weeks. And I love how first I got inspired to have Mel on the show is because I wanted to talk about her books, like how she's a writer and she was able to like, get the book out. I was so kind of like in awe with that. And I love how she kind of like shared the story of how her book was born too. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how that happened?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story is that, and by the way, if you go to freedomfromclutter.net, you
Yeah.
get to download the ebook you get the whole book for free. So go to freedomfromclutter.net to grab the ebook. I'm someone who coaches with multiple coaches. I believe that in order to excel and to grow your business and to be the best version of yourself, you need people from the outside kind of looking over your fence and really helping you see the things that you can't see yourself. And one of my mentors that I started working with over the summer basically told me that I needed to write a book in order to get booked on other people's platforms, like being booked on podcasts like this or other big name podcasts. And my first response was like,
I love it. That was
my jaw drops and I'm like, really, in my mind, I'm like, really, at this point in my life, like this was not on my agenda. I've had many people tell me I should write a book, and I'm just like, that was like way in the future, not now. I had too many other things going on. I'm working with multiple coaches, so I have multiple assignments from all of those coaches and all this work I was doing. But I'm like, I'm paying her to coach me and I have to follow the coaching. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I did the research. I started writing my outline and then I just buckled down and I got it done. But it came from a coach telling me that you need to have a book. And I was just like, and I was at first just going to write like a little ebook, like just to have a book to say I had a book, but it wound up turning into, I think like 162 page book is what it turned out to be.
Can you show us how thick it is? Yeah. It's like I was like so impressed. Like I was like, wow, I want that book. I remember we're part of the same Facebook group where you could to share how the cover would look like, and I was so happy to vote. Actually, this was my vote.
Yay. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know that going into the bookmaking process, the best way to get a cover designed is there's actually a company called 99 Designs where you can do a cover design contest. So you get access to the best designers. You create a prize, a monetary prize, and then they all submit designs for you. So I wound up getting over 60 designers sending me almost 400 cover submissions for my book. So talk about clutter and talk about overwhelming. That was definitely challenging. But what I want to say about that is that I had two favorite covers that I had throughout the whole entire process. And they were of the first four that came in. From the very first four submissions, it was my two favorite that made it all the way through to the end. So very interesting. Just like when you're going to buy a house, it's usually the first one you look at, you wind up coming back to. Within the first four designs, my two favorite came, and that was definitely a rewarding process. And what I love, the best part about it is it's got a mason jar on the front, so it pays off my last name.
I know, it's like I don't know if the designer thought it all through like that, but it was so well thought of. Like it's just that was it. You know, as soon as I saw it, I knew that was it too. So I'm very glad. And I love, you know what makes this book process and hearing your story even more interesting is because you were able to put it together, although inside of you it wasn't like the writer from within that wanted to come out. Like it's you organizing yourself and kind of like making it happen. And I don't know if you can share with us a little bit of how you did the research, of how you even kind of get your book started. It's probably all of your wisdom into the book, but how do we organize that?
You know, I'm someone who just kind of goes onto Google and starts researching. And I was like, okay, well, how do you write a book? Well, first you need an outline. So then I just, went back to, high school and was like, oh yeah, how do you write an outline? It's been a while since I did one of those. But first it started with just write out, base it off a 10 chapter book and write your chapter titles. They don't have to stay. You don't have to worry about having the names for them correct. You just need to get information written out. And then after you have your chapter titles, then you go back and what are the main points that you want to cover in each chapter? And once you have that done, it's just going down and knocking it out and getting all that information out there. And once you get the information out, then you just tweak it and make it so it's readable and you go from there.
And then afterwards, you start working with editors or copywriters. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, I just had an editor go through and read through it and make sure it all looked good. And once I got that back, then it was I self-published on Amazon. So there's no upfront cost. You don't have to worry about it. It's a print on demand service. So you upload it to Amazon, and once you order the book, they print it on demand and they ship it to you.
that's amazing. Guys, like seriously, if you feel inspired to write your own book right now and stop delaying and just get into action, please comment below and let us know, because it would be really, really great to see other future writers out there. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that part with us. And so now let's dig deep. I think when I went to your website, as I'm kind of like getting ready for this live event that we're having, I was just reading some testimonials of like the people that you work with, and some of them, it's like, I don't want to get into detail. It's so inspiring too of how you were able to help them. So do you have like on top of your mind like the way that things that comes to you as I'm asking you about your clients, that's standing out, and how it makes you feel when you're able to help these kind of people?
It like when you actually have someone who is able to take the suggestions that you give them based on my own experience, because everything I teach is just comes from my own experience. I got through my own clutter, and getting through my own clutter, I developed this step-by-step process that I teach my clients. And when I actually see people get results from it, it's like, oh my God, this really, it's like, you almost like, oh my God, it really works. Like, oh my God, this really works. Not just for me, it works for everybody else. And it just blows me away. I had a woman recently purchase my Black Friday offer, which was some, a 6-week masterclass that I taught, and they got access to a live Q&A call with me and a video training I did. And then she got a free coaching call with me. And by the time she got on the call with me, she had already consumed all the content, had already been implementing the allowing the now practice that I teach my clients, and started decluttering. And the best part about it is I always tell people, if you do it this way, you'll even have fun. And her words to me was, it was so much fun. Like, she was already putting everything into practice and getting the results without even having a conversation with me yet, just from listening to what I had shared and putting everything into practice. I was just like, oh my God, like, you are a dream client. Like, I want all my clients to be like you, where they just implement and they just want to get it done and they're committed. It's just like, oh my gosh, if I could have 20 clients like you, that would be ideal. So I was like, wow, that's super cool. And another client that started working with me, I think, God, about 3 or 4 months ago. One of the main things I teach my clients is how to be present for yourself, because we spend our lives avoiding, resisting, and denying ourselves. So what I teach my clients is a process called allowing the now, which is simply just turning your attention inward and just being a witness to your experience. You're not trying to change anything or do anything about it. You're just witnessing your experience, and you're almost kind of like a reporter. You're just making mental notes. Oh, here's the anxiety. Oh, my mind is racing. Oh, here's some sadness. Oh, there's a tightness in my chest. Oh, there's some warmth. Oh, there's some tingling. It's just a mental noticing, because it's just about turning your attention within and being present. And what people don't realize is that once you do that, once you can just stop for even just a moment, you make a little bit of space inside of yourself. And when you start making that space, because the outside is a mirror of the outside has to match. It's law. It's called the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, or as within, so without. So when you change the inside, the outside has to match. That's why this works. And I had a client, she was super resistant to doing this process. And I only ask my clients to start with 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And she's not able to do 5 minutes, but she's able to do 2. So we find out what works for the client. I want them to be able to do it. I don't care if you do it for 30 seconds. I just want you to do it consistently. And just after a couple weeks of doing the practice, she was sharing with me that, I mean, her house is completely filled with clutter. I mean, there's shoe boxes in the hallway. There's stuff all over the sofa. Every surface is covered. And she was telling me that normally she would look at the clutter and she would just start berating herself. She would just beating herself up and how nothing's ever going to happen with it. And what shifted for her by doing this one process was that she started to be able to see a future of what it was going to look and feel like when the clutter was gone. So instead of beating herself up, she's starting to see a different future. So that just blows me away.
Yeah, that actually, like, I was actually living every word that you're saying. I was like picturing it. I'm very creative, so I was seeing that, and it's so amazing. And like you said, like a process that you like have gone through and that have developed a plan to help your own self and to see it on other people that it works too. You're like, see, it works too, right? So, and I love how you gave two different perspective of clients. There's always the clients who is more, like take more time and more resistant to that
Yeah.
advice, and then there's the one that just kind of like a doer and like ready to take the next step, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like we can see that with you too, because you work with multiple coaches, as you said, and you're like, writing a book, really? Like, I really have to? And like, but you did it because you were
Yeah.
committed. And I wanted to ask you, because that ideal client, like, I not ideal, but like the client that came and was ready, had done her research, did she read your book as well?
She'll be getting it in the mail because she just purchased my offer on Black Friday. So part of the Black
Oh,
Friday offer is to get a physical copy of this book.
yeah.
And I am extending that offer. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to clutterfree.net and take a look at that. And
Clutter. I'll
that's
put
a
it.
that's
Clutter.
if you're interested in learning more about that. It's a 6-week masterclass. That's an audio course, and then it's a video training on the 7 steps to manage, overwhelm, and organize any space, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So
Perfect. I just typed in the description box, I mean, on the comment box. So make sure to check that out. And
yeah,
so,
we're
yeah,
doing a
so
live Q&A call this Saturday. So if you're interested in doing it, it's $147 for the whole package, and you can the live Q&A. I'm redoing the live Q&A call because I forgot to hit record. So it's a bonus that we're doing the live Q&A call again this Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's
1
still happening.
p.m. specific Pacific time.
Yep.
And that is Saturday. What day is it? December 12th?
12th, December 12th.
12.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting that in the box.
Yeah.
And where do they go for that?
Uh, what is it? Getclutterfree.net or
Clutter.
clutterfree.net, not getclutterfree, just clutterfree.net.
Clutter.net. Okay.
Yeah.
So many things, right?
Yeah.
Clutter
Talk
free.
about resistance, though. I love sharing this story. My very first client, we worked together for 6 years. Okay. The first 4 years, she only had me come to her house. I used to go into people's homes and work with them on their physical clutter as well. I don't do that anymore. I strictly coach people. And for 4 years, I would come to her house, and she was a genealogist. So she had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of paper. I mean, the walls were lined with boxes of paper. She even had her own microfiche reader so she could look at stuff in her house. And we would spend a 4-hour session getting through 1 or 2 banker boxes of paper. And over those 4 years, I was constantly gently nudging her, trying to teach her about this allowing the now practice and coaching with me. And she was super resistant. She just wasn't ready to do it. After 4 years, she finally concedes and agrees to coach with me, as well as still have me come help her in her house. Well, as she starts coaching with me, she starts putting this allowing the now piece into practice. And within no time, her whole life radically changed because she was working a job that was temporary and contract, and she was always subject to layoff. And in the first 4 years we worked together, she was laid off twice. Once she started doing the allowing the now practice, that temporary position became permanent. She got a raise, and she got some really freaking cool employee benefits. If you ever have to work for an employer, she got access to a health coach, and they brought a fresh fruit basket into the office every week for the employees. Like, talk about amazing shift, right? And then after just doing the combo program with me for a year, she's like, and this was someone who couldn't get through her own clutter on her own. After just a year, she's like, I don't think I need you to come to my house anymore.
You got
I'm like,
fired, Mel.
oh my God, I love this. And so then we were just strictly coaching. And then after 10 months, I have a year-long contract with my clients. After 10 months, she's like, I think at the end of this contract, I'm ready to fly. And she's
That
been on her own ever since. But it took the first 4 years to get her to do this one practice. And then those amazing shifts happen in such a short amount of time.
that is such an amazing story, and it goes to show again that like why that show was like you were like red flag from that show, right? Because you're like, what are you doing? This lady took 4 years for her to be ready to let
Yeah.
go. You cannot just kind of like go quickly and then just rip the band-aid out like that,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah,
not as
letting go is
simple.
a muscle you have to build over time. Like if you've been accumulating your stuff all your life or for years and years and years, you have to realize that you're in this state of contraction and hanging on. And
Hmm.
you're in this contracted state, and you're not just going to open up your hands and you're going to let go of everything all at once. It's just not how it works. That letting go muscle is kind of atrophied. So you have to build it over time. So I always have my clients start small and start with what's easy to let go of first. Don't start with those sentimental items. Don't start with the sentimental clothing. Don't start with the photos. Don't start with the clothes that from your, your what do you call it? This t-shirts from your concerts and all the sentimental clothes, or the goal clothes that you're going to fit into someday kind of thing.
Yeah.
Don't start with the hard stuff. Start with what's easy. Do the junk drawer. Do some stuff in the kitchen that's super easy for you to let go of, and build that muscle. And over time, that stuff that's harder for you to let go of will become easier. And you'll let go of more and more each time you do it, because you're not going to go through it and get through everything all at once or the first time through. It's going to require you to look at your stuff over and over again. It took me about, after I had the switch from the inside, from going from someone who was a cluttered, disorganized mess to someone who loved creating order out of chaos, it still took about 12 years for me to get through all of my stuff and let go of some stuff that I had really major attachments to. So
Yeah.
start small and just build that letting go muscle.
Yeah, I love that, because like it's funny because I am right now emptying my basement, my cluttered basement, and I am almost embarrassed to share how it looks, but it just happened. 10 kids, I don't know, like busy life happened, right? And, and so like I'm like, people are like, you should sell your stuff. You should sell your stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but that requires a lot of time. So I remember my cousin doing like a garage sale, like they spend the whole day selling stuff, and maybe they made like $60 at the end of the day. Took a whole day, and then they got so hungry and tired that they went out for a restaurant and spent it all. So I'm like, guys, just go and donate your things. Don't even worry. Yeah, there's certain things that maybe you'll give it a try to sell, but it could be as simple. Just give the things that you don't need too. So I wanted to kind of like add that to what you're saying, because
Yeah, I
I'm
always
like,
tell my clients, it's like they're always like, can I sell this? Should I do that? And I'm just like, here's the deal. First of all, how valuable is your time? Because when you sell something, you have to take the photos. You have
yes.
to list it on whatever platform you're going to sell it on. You have to field the emails and the phone calls. And then you have to deal with people not showing up when they say they're going to and trying to haggle you down. And then do you really want people coming to your house and looking at your stuff? Are you going to go meet them somewhere and waste your time? And
Yeah.
then it's like pennies on the dollar, when if you donate it, most of the time you have to check with your tax accountant, but you can actually claim the value of the item on your taxes versus getting
Oh.
pennies on the dollar.
Mm.
And the same with consignment. If you want to consign things, you have to pay to get the items delivered to consignment. And then they're gonna lowball the price. They're gonna take 50 to 60% of whatever they sell it for. And then every 30 days they're gonna mark the price down.
Mm.
And then after 90 days, if it doesn't sell, you have to come pick it up again, or it belongs to them. So it doesn't really, unless it's super, super valuable, then it's really not worth it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love how you brought that down, because you want to do the right thing. You want to set yourself up for success. Like, oh yeah, if I can get a little money, but you're right. You're absolutely right. It takes your time, and I don't have time for that. I don't even have time to like declutter the place. So if I'm okay of not having it, then I might as well just give it away,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm the same with like when I buy something and it's under like $20 and say it doesn't work, or I don't need it or whatever, I won't even stand in line to return it.
Oh,
I just
really?
donate it because it's just not worth my time to stand in line.
That is so true. I'm not there yet, but now you're implanting a seed. It's so true, because sometimes, especially Boxing Days, is coming up, and there's gonna be so many returns. Are you gonna really stand in line and go through all of that, right?
Hell
That is
no.
so true.
Hell no.
Um,
Unless it's Amazon and they make it easy, then no, because with Amazon, it's super easy. I just go to where I get my mail and, they print me a little receipt and I don't have to do anything. But if I have to stand in line at a store to
that is
return
true.
something and it's under $20, it's not going to happen. It's just going to my local nonprofit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I love that. I made note for myself to kind of like talk a little bit about your branding. You
Yeah.
know how you started first and what it became. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. So when I first started, I was known as the Declutter with the DE in front of it, Declutter Expert.
Hmm.
And recently, working through with a mentor, I mean, I've been in business for almost 8 years. January will be 8 years. And just this past July, working with a mentor who's, her main deal has been on being on camera and selling everything through a lens. And we were in rooms together where I was, doing my pitch in a room, and she started watching people's reactions to what I was saying. And the word declutter actually has a negative connotation for people. And I didn't realize this, that when people hear the word declutter, they automatically think I'm going to make them get rid of stuff. And so there was this negative connotation about decluttering. They're like, oh, I don't want to know anything about that. But once I dropped the D, and because it was declutter expert and coach, and then becoming the clutter expert, I was able to drop coach off because it's all encompassing and
Hmm.
not push people away. And the other part about it is that declutter is actually, when you try to search it online or with SEO and Google, it's not, it doesn't search very well. But clutter is an easy term to search, and it's a big term to search, so it's more recognizable. So once I dropped the D off and just became the clutter expert, everything has shifted.
What a jeu de mots they call it in French, because declutter, de or the the, right? But it's the little shift makes a huge difference. And I know this because I have a YouTube channel and everything is SEO. Are you searchable? Are people looking for that? And things like that. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I wanted to also, I think one great advice that I got from you was also work with a coach, work with a mentor. You know, the amount, like all the successful entrepreneurs that I interview, they all have two, three coaches themselves, because it's like your kind of like fast ticket to success, in a way. And I love that. And I wanted to ask you about like you working with each coaches, and even the person who told you about writing your book. What is the difference that it made in your business? So I know now from just changing the online presence words, but what about the books? Like how do you see all of that? Oh, and sorry, before you answer, the amazing photos, the branding photo shoot that you just had, such amazing photos. So I would love for you to share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So working with coaches is paramount. If you, I mean, you can do stuff on your own, and it doesn't mean you can't get places on your own. But I mean, if you could get rich off knowledge, we'd all be rich because everything's accessible online. Like you can find anything that you want online through Google research.
Mm-hmm.
And but most of us aren't able to implement or stay on point, or we can't see past ourselves. It's like kind of like a polar circle. You're in one circle and you don't have the outside circle, you can't see in, so you need someone looking over your fence to help you get past your own blind spots. We all have our blind spots, and we all think that we're great, or this idea is going to be great, or this is this. But unless you have somebody looking in and helping you see, then you can't grow as fast. Coaching really helps you speed up the process and get amazing results. I actually work with 3 coaches. I have a coach for my YouTube channel that helps me grow my YouTube channel and really just helps me tweak that. I have a coach that I work with to grow my email database and learn how to enroll my email database and grow my business through email marketing. And then I have another coach that I work with that really just helped me get really good on camera and get really good about talking and communicating about what I do in an effective way where it excites and engages and enrolls people in what I do and gets people to want to learn more about what I do. And that one coach is Forbes Riley. I don't know if any of you know her, but she's known as the queen of pitch and the $2.5 billion host. She's done over 180 infomercials. If you ever watched the Jack LaLanne juicer infomercial, she was the host. That infomercial just, I think, grossed millions and millions of dollars. And she, due to COVID, has been teaching classes online, and we've had amazing access to her. And from working with her, I rebranded, I got a new logo, I wrote my book, and then I met an amazing branding photographer through working with her in her inner circle, who lives in San Diego, California, which is only a little over 2 hours away from me, which is technically in Carlsbad. And once I saw her work, she's photographed Les Brown, Lisa Nichols, and she's just the branding photographer to the stars, and she can just bring out your essence. She's absolutely amazing. And I knew I had to work with her. So I went and I did my branding photo session early in November with her and just got my photos at the end of November. And she has just changed my world. So I waited to brand until, 8 years later. They recommend you don't need to brand right away. You need to kind of, get your groove in your business. It's going to change over and over again. I mean, I started as going and working into people's homes, and then I thought I was going to do something else and just tried to become a happiness coach. And then it all kind of came back around to being a declutter expert and coach. And now it's evolved to I'm the clutter expert, and it's getting really clear. And working with her, I was able to get clear on what my mission was, my vision was, and really get clear on my branding. So working with a coach is absolutely paramount if you want to get amazing results.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And like I made myself a mental note. I knew that I had to work with a coach myself, in this journey, because exactly as what you said,
Yeah.
I could talk to myself and brainstorm with my own self, but at the end of the day, I'm now you start sounding like crazy, right? So you do need this person to bounce back ideas, and someone like I do have a best friend which I'm bouncing back ideas, but you need that coach who has walked the walk,
Yeah.
who has been there, and that could guide you. I need to grow my email list. I need to learn how to kind of like get very clear with my message and all these things. So all these things was along my journey, and I finally feel like I'm ready to take on that step. And I love that your advice, and it's there. It's on my. I know where I'm heading, and I want your photographer too. But it's just like, oh, I live all the way in Canada, and COVID is making things like so.
COVID's only temporary. So just, visualize it. It's going to change soon. It's
Yes,
not going to be like this forever.
yes, it will. So I'm looking forward to traveling again. So maybe we can meet in person soon,
That would be
rather
amazing.
yeah, sooner rather than later. And yeah, so thank you so much for being here with us. I can't believe time's just flying. Again, guys, if you're tuning in from different platform, I want you to know that I run this Facebook group called Max Efficient, where I gather many entrepreneurs to help other entrepreneurs, and we have weekly draws for product and services to help each other out. So I'm helping savvy entrepreneur promoting themselves, and I'm helping newbie entrepreneur getting the tools that they need in order for them to get to the next level. Um, Mel has been so generous with us and have given us a one-on-one chance to work with her. It's valued at 347 US. Is this?
Yeah.
And with her, and also a link to get a copy of her amazing book. Can we see it again?
Yes.
Yeah, so a Freedom from Clutter book. And so make sure to join our group if this is the community that you would want, and also download a copy of the book. And you know what? I think that this is the thing where everybody would really benefit on, like, the clutter from within, like, so I think that not only to entrepreneurs but anyone out there would very benefit. So take on the opportunity, and the draw will happen in a couple of weeks, so we will know who would be the lucky one that will get to work with you one-on-one. Thanks for your generosity and for being here. I feel so happy to have met you and have this wonderful chat. And if you have any question at all from whatever it is that we talked about, make sure to just comment below, and I will relay the questions to Mel, or I will answer as much as I can. Is there anything else other than the roadshow that you're having this Saturday? No, is it roadshow? Live Q&A?
Live Q&A call.
Okay, so how does that work? So how people would subscribe, like, because
You
It's
have
coming up.
to purchase the clutter-free package. So if you go to clutterfree.net,
Yes.
it's part of the clutter-free package. I have a program called Clutter Free. It's basically it's a 6-part audio series called How to Clear to Clutter Masterclass. It comes with a video training on the 7 steps to manage, overwhelm, and organize any space. Then it comes with the live Q&A call. It actually comes with a physical copy of this book. You get a physical copy mailed to you.
Mm-hmm.
I did an online show called Dare to Thrive, how to let go, get unstuck, reconnect to source, and experience happiness and abundance in every area of your life. So there's a bundle of 7 of my favorite, most downloaded interviews as part of that. And you get the 7 steps to manage, overwhelm, and organize any space downloadable blueprint, as well as a psychology of clutter report and a couple other things that I can't remember right now. But that all comes in the clutter-free package. You get that at clutterfree.net, and it's $147. And once you sign up, I think you'll get an email. It won't have the correct live Q&A date because it's older. It hasn't been updated yet, but just mark your calendars because once you purchase it, you'll be on the email list to get further updates from me. So you'll get the updates that are coming out in the next couple days.
That's
So that's
awesome.
clutterfree.net to purchase that.
Is this one the 6 weeks program, or the 6 weeks program is separate? It's a different one.
No, it's not a 6-week program. It's a 6-part class that I taught. So it's an audio that you listen to on your own. It's self-paced.
Okay, sounds good. So this will give you a lifetime access, right?
Yes. Yep, lifetime access.
That's awesome, because you know what? We all have our moments where we get back we get back on the train. You got off the train and then you get back on the train. So I think, like Mel was saying, it's a muscle. You just kind of have to start little, and then it'll remember that clients 4 years before she made the decision. So having lifetime access is definitely a plus. So thank you for that. Definitely check out the link below, and also join her. Download your free copy of the ebook. So yeah, so thanks again, Mel, for coming here, and such a pleasure having you. And I would look forward to know who it is gonna get the pleasure of working with you.
Awesome. Likewise. And I'm just remembering, it's either clutterfree.net or getclutterfree.net. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I have so many URLs. So if clutterfree.net doesn't work, just put the get in front of it.
You know what? You know what I'm gonna do after this call? I'm just gonna make sure that I double check everything with you, and then in the description box below of this YouTube episode, you will have all the right URLs. So don't worry, we will get this sorted out for you. Okay?
Awesome.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys. Bye.